What is up, guys? Johnny Chase here, and welcome back to the club, and welcome to 2025. We're off to a new year, and I got some exciting stuff lined up for you. Today, we're going to go back to an old topic. We're going to talk about 5 more modern retro games that you guys should check out. I'm very happy to bring you guys these series of videos to tell you about some indie titles and maybe some AA, AAA titles that like to mimic the games of yesteryear, whether it be 8-bit, 16-bit, or in some of these cases, 32-bit. We got some little poly model stuff for you today as well. So if you think that I've missed out on a game, I probably already covered it in a previous video. Look at the title card here. You'll get right to the playlist for the previous episodes. But let's jump into it. Here are 5 more modern games you can get that give you that retro feel. First off is one called Ninja 1987. This is a recent release. I got this on the Switch, but it's also available on Xbox, PlayStation, and Steam. So when I first saw this game on the Nintendo eShop, I thought, oh, this kind of looks like an homage to Ninja Gaiden. And I looked at it and went, you know, let me give it a shot. You know, I love Ninja Gaiden. I love the Ninja Gaiden series. And it'd be nice to have another spiritual successor to it, like we had with Sabotage Games and The Messenger a few years back. This did not turn out to be a Ninja Gaiden clone. This is actually, it feels more like Batman on NES. But I mean, obviously you're a ninja, but I mean, you know, Bruce Wayne, Batman trains in Jiu-Jitsu as well as other martial arts. So, I mean, you know, we can call Space Bait all day, but, you know, it has that same feel. Not quite the same music, but the graphical style and the enemy hits, it does feel bad. I mean, even look at this enemy here. Now, I will say that it is a very, very short game. Veteran players will probably beat this in an hour to 90 minutes. There's only 7 stages, and it has an infinite life system. But basically, with the life system, they only take away your score, your points. You gain points from all the enemies you defeat, the bosses you defeat, and you lose 1,000 points every time you die. So there's really no super difficulty to this. Very simple setup. So you've got your basic attacks. You've got projectiles that you can pick up, a la Batman on the NES or Ninja Gaiden, one of those side-scrolling action games that you used to play on the NES. You got a screen cleaning attack, you've got a dashing attack, and I gotta say though, like, for the price I paid about like $6 or $7 for this on the Switch. I think it goes for the same on the other consoles as well. For $6, $7, this is a good experience. It's nice and short and sweet, gets to the point. I do hope that they make some updates to it in the future with maybe some harder difficulties, or maybe like an actual live system, so that, you know, you get multiple tries and then, you know, you have to go back all the way back to the end of the stage before you're able to progress. For this one, like, there's not a whole lot of story. I think there's only like 2 or 3 cutscenes in the entire game. In the beginning, when you defeat your rival, and then when you defeat the final boss. I mean, the story is basically simple. Evil being comes and you have to go to destroy it. There's not really a whole lot of complexity to the story in this, but I mean, back in the day, we didn't play NES games for the story. We played it for the experience and the enjoyment and the excitement of being a very hard NES game. And I feel that, like, if they tweak the difficulty a little bit in this, it could get NES hard. But I mean, we do have to make this for modern audiences, so, you know, we have to curve the difficulty a little bit. But I still enjoyed what I played of Ninja 1987. So if you see it for a cheap price, like I said, it goes for around $6 or $7. But it is available on everything. And if you want that old school experience, and, you know, since, you know, Sunsoft's not going to republish Batman because of licensing, we're not going to see that on Nintendo Switch Online anytime soon. This is probably the next best thing. So go check out Ninja 1987. Now, there's one game that I dipped my toes into a little bit, and I actually have to go back and complete because other games kind of got in the way, and I do want to eventually finish it. This came out a couple years ago. It's called WrestleQuest. So this mixes the world of professional wrestling with a turn-based JRPG, more specifically timed turn-based RPG. So if you've ever played Super Mario RPG, the Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga series, you'll be right at home with this. I mean, at one point in one of my streams, the music glitched out and I replaced it with the battle theme from Mario RPG, and it fit perfectly well. So this one is really interesting. It's kind of like taking the world of pro wrestling and action figures, and you're kind of seeing this somewhat through the eye of a wrestling fan or a child who's playing with his toys and coming up with like the ultimate underdog wrestling story. But it's also told through the eyes of pro wrestling podcasters. So you've got Comrade Thompson, who runs a lot of the podcasting networks for a lot of pro wrestlers. Double J, Jeff Jarrett's there, Diamond Dallas Page, and as well, it's like bringing in a lot of the superstars of yesteryear. So you've got appearance, like it mainly focuses around the lore and the legacy of Macho Man Randy Savage. Like your character is Randy Santos, who models himself after the Macho Man, and he's on a quest to become obviously the greatest professional wrestler out there. So you're going around, you're beating up enemies, you're getting XP, you're leveling up, you're getting items and weapons, you're getting equipment and pieces to, you know, build your figure up, obviously to help with your defense and offense. You've got, you know, magic spells and abilities. It's really, really fun, and I fortunately put it down and haven't gotten back to it, but there's something that's been on my backlog for a very long time. Also too, and unfortunately some of this has been a little bit dated depending on who you find in there, but there are a few influencers that you might recognize in there if you keep looking. Some of them are good. I mean, your boys from OSW are on there for the Old School Wrestling video podcast, and as well as appearances from people in the industry that are still active. Tons of Easter eggs, tons of references. Like the developers of WrestleQuest get the meta culture of pro wrestling. You meet an NPC that is like looks like a Gundam, but he just spouts math. And we know when you combine math and wrestling, what do you get? Scott Steiner. But yeah, I can't wait to go back and give this more thorough playthrough. But the time that I did play with it, I had an immense amount of joy. They say it's about, like, if you want to complete everything, it's close to like 35-40 hours. So in the realm of JRPGs, it's relatively short compared to something like a Dragon Quest or a Final Fantasy VII. You're gonna have a good time, and it mimics that old school style of JRPGs back on the DS or the Super Nintendo quite well. So if you're looking for a great RPG that takes you back to those days, go check out WrestleQuest. Now, if you've ever wanted a game that is like the spiritual successor to Sunset Riders from Konami, but they never really released that or made anything else in that genre, I think I got the game for you. This is Death Wish Enforcers, available on Steam. I don't believe this is out on console just yet, as the time of this recording. But basically, this is taking Sunset Riders, but taking it out of the Wild West and cowboy motif and putting it into 60s and 70s action movies. So you've got a cast of 5 different characters you can pick from. Now we have, you know, legally distinct names from them, but I mean, you could put 2 together who are these characters. Obviously, you've got your Clint Eastwood, Dirty Harry. You've got Charles Bronson from the Death Wish movies. You've got, I'm saying this is a dead rigger for Roger Moore, James Bond. I mean, he's even got the golden gun. And you've got 2 female characters as well. I am very sorry, I couldn't put two together who these could be emulated. They could be literally any female sidekick from those movies, but you know, as a child of the born in the 80s, grew up in the 90s, I didn't watch a whole lot of these movies growing up. I know of obviously Dirty Harry and Death Wish and James Bond, but for the ladies of the era, unfortunately, I gotta do more research on that, which I didn't have time for. But so in this game here, it is a side-scrolling beat 'em up shooter. So again, in the vein of Sunset Riders, you're going through shooting everything that's in your way. More points for extra lives, more points for continues. You got some hidden items. You can tell that the developers of this are gigantic fans of Sunset Riders. It plays and feels just like it. Slide mechanic. There's even a point there where like it mimics the running of the bulls, but it's the running of the motorcyclists. So this one knows to do the, you know, obviously like zombie movies were really big in the 70s as well. So you've got some zombie action in there as well. It's a basic arcade game. It can do it up to 4 players locally. scrolling through, having a good time. There's a interrogation mini game that kind of breaks up the action. You're riding around on motorcycles, nice vehicle section to break up the action as well. This has a lot of options here. So like if you don't want to go through the default difficulty, like a Konami Super Nintendo game, you can up the lives, you can up the continues to get you through the game. It is one shot kill, so it's got old school arcade rolls. It can be very challenging, a lot of bullets flying on screen, but I love this game. I'm gonna get some people together to play it more, maybe even get some guys online on Parsec to play more of this online as well. So if you like Sunset Riders in the arcades and on the SNES and Genesis, go ahead and pick up Death Wish Enforcers on Steam. Now this one's been out for almost 5 years now, but I feel it needs to be talked about more. It's Hotshot Racing. It's available on PlayStation, Steam, Switch, and Xbox. I'm playing the Xbox version here. This was initially released on Game Pass, and it's one of those few games that as soon as it got off of Game Pass, I immediately bought it to continue playing it because I love me some old school arcade racing. So it's polygonal. It gives you that feel of Daytona USA, or in most cases virtual racing. So it's actually developed by Sumo Digital Entertainment. This is the company that worked on the Sega and All Stars Racing Transformed games on the 360, PS3, and Steam. Because if you're going to trust your racing to any company, you probably trust it to this company that's worked with Sega in the past and knows how to make a Sega style arcade game. So there's a plethora of different racers and different cars that you can pick. They also have unlockable, so as you progress through arcade or Grand Prix, if you do enough drifts or boosts in a race, or you maintain drift for a longer period, you will unlock other stuff. So you can unlock color palettes for characters and vehicles. You can unlock other vehicle parts like skirts and hoods, steering wheels. There's also, and if you don't like straight up racing, there's a cops and robbers mode. So several people play as cops, several people play as robbers in their respective vehicles, and they just have to try and survive and make up with as much cash as possible. But if they're destroyed before the race is over, they get turned into the cops and they have to destroy the rest of the field before they finish the race, which is a lot of fun. There's also DLC that came out that added new tracks and new vehicles to the game. It's a lot of fun. Like I said, if you love those old school Sega arcade racing games, you definitely need to pick up Hotshot Racing. Again, it's available on everything, and Sumo Digital made a fantastic racing game. Y'all should check it out. And lastly, this one's been on my radar and on my wish list for a while, and also installed on my Xbox for a while. I never even booted it up until right when I was picking out games for this review to do, and I'm glad I did. This is Aggelos. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. It's Aggelos. This is available on everything as well. This one right here is kind of a spiritual successor to Wonder Boy, the Wonder Boy series. Now this kind of goes after the third game, I believe, because correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I believe at least the first game, Wonder Boy 1, was more like Adventure Island than it was what the other Wonder Boy games preceded in the series. So this is a side-scrolling adventure game with RPG elements. So, basic story of this. You leave your house, you meet girls, she turns out to be princess, you save her life. The king sends you out on a quest to gather 4 elements of the earth. But this one here, like it still gives off that feeling of old school. Like if the graphics were a little bit more toned down, I swear you could probably fit this on a Sega Master System cart alongside with the other Wonder Boy games in the series. It controls well. There's clever puzzles. Like the dungeon layout is great. The first few bosses I fought were, nice big sprites, very well animated, and it was a lot of fun. And it's something I'm gonna go back to complete because I never played a whole lot of the Wonder Boy series. The last game I actually played in this style was actually Zelda 2: The Adventure Link, and the Zelda 2: Adventure Link HD game that in my fan game series you can check out as well. We checked out the HD remastering of that game, but I wanted to give this one a shot because, like, when I looked at the image of it on my Xbox, it was just your character and this big ass dragon, this big goofy ass dragon, and I thought, man, this looks like an old school game with a lot of charm, and it is, and it's got some really good mechanics in there as far as like platforming and puzzle solving that most games don't tend to do these days. So I was happy for that, and I was happy to go back and play this, and it actually is giving me that itch to go back and actually try the Wonder Boy games for myself. Probably not Wonder Boy 1, because like I said, Wonder Boy 1 is more Adventure Island. This is something that just popped up. I was looking for 8-bit games or old school games, and this, like, the cover art intrigued me, and I went in not really expecting a whole lot, but I mean, their attention to detail for keeping this as close to a Sega Master System game as possible. Commend them for that, and it was such a great choice, and I can't wait to go back and play more. So Aggelos, go check that out. It is available on everything. All right, so that was 5 more modern retro games that you guys should check out in 2025. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, you know the drill. Hit the like button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and you'll be up to date with more videos just like this. We're gonna be back in full force for 2025 with more modern retro games, more fan-made games, more ROM hacks. I've got so many on my list here that I want to talk about and show you guys and get you guys to check out. If we're doing ROM hacks or fan games, link to these games will always be in the description below. And for the games that I'm talking about here, mention it at the end because I tell you which systems are on. Basically, all I've talked about today, these can be played on everything. There's no console exclusivity on these games. So once again, thank you guys so much for watching. And my name is Johnny Chase, and I don't have a closing still. This is 2025. Probably should come up with one, right? See you in the next one. Bye-bye.